Hello, and welcome back to The Broken Doll. And tonight I come to you with Shirley Temple's teeth. Now, I've just painted the last coat of paint on them, and they're looking spectacular. So I hope you like what you're seeing here. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is clean up my little mess here with my acrylic paint. So let's get some paper towels here, which I got some right over here. And we're going to talk about something tonight. It's something I need to talk to you about. It's about celluloid. Her teeth are made of celluloid, and celluloid is a petroleum product. And I'm going to give a little story as I clean up here about celluloid. Celluloid, like I said, is a petroleum product. It doesn't like the sun. It does not like heat. Here's a story. We had an antique shop many years ago that opened up, and my husband and I went in there, and there was a whole bunch of old antique dolls that came from an estate, and I didn't have the money to be buying those dolls because I was raising kids at the time, and money was tight because we had 3 little ones. But boy, did I want that big Bilo baby that she had in the window there in the old-fashioned buggy, and I was like just drooling all over that baby. I would love to have had her, but one of the things I noticed about her was she had celluloid hands. This was one of the big Bilos, and had a great big giant head on it, great big fat chubby hands, but those hands were sitting right out, exposed, right to the light, right inside like the window, and the window is like a magnifier when it comes to the sun, and the sun was beaming right in on her. I said to the lady, you might want to get that doll out of the window, and she said, why? And I said, well, first, it's not good for the porcellane, you know, the bisque. But the biggest thing that it's not good for is the hands. It's made out of a celluloid, which is a petroleum product. I knew this back then. I was taught about it. And I said, one of the things it can do is it can catch on fire. And that's in that doll has old stuffing in it and an old dress on it, sitting in an old wicker dried up buggy. And the next thing you know is your store could catch on fire. All starting from those little celluloid hands. So anyway, she looked at me like as if I was nuts. But I was trying to be really honest with her. I said, could you remove her from the window? And she says, I don't think there's any problem with her. Well, she went to go, and she pulled the buggy back and touched the hands, and the hands literally melted, like bent right off. The fingers were melted, like just came off. Like they weren't gooey or anything. It was so soft that she just crammed her hands on it, squished them. She goes, see? And all of a sudden she goes, ah! And I go, what? And the fingers were like came right off, like they were off. They weren't like stretchy or anything. They were so soft that it broke them right off because she just grabbed it. And I was like, I wanted her to go like that to it, you know, maybe, or you know, something like that, and just see how hot, because it was hot in that window. And she says we were there late afternoon. Now this is where, and the sun is like my front yard of my house. I get the morning sun in my backyard, and I get the evening sun in my front of my house. So I have lined curtains in the front because it wants to beam right through. So I have curtains that make the front room dark and everything, and to keep the heat back, because that's how hot it is at the front of my house at that 3 o'clock and on type of thing, 3, 4, 5, that really deep heat that you're getting in the day. And that's the same with her windows, was facing the same as my house was. And so I knew that there was a lot, and plus it's all glass, so it's just magnifying right in there, even hotter yet. So she goes, oh my goodness, I broke the fingers right off. And I said, yes. And I said, that's the thing about celluloid. And I said, she said, I'm so glad you told me. And she says, well, now what am I going to do for a hand? And I went, well, in those days we didn't have eBay or anything like that to go looking for parts or anything. So back then I didn't know what she was going to do, because I didn't know where to get her an extra hand, you know. But she says, well, I'm glad you told me. I said, well, it's just that it can start fires. And I told her, I said, many a farmhouse went up in flame because a little girl made her bed that day and set her celluloid doll. And some dolls were celluloid the whole body, right from head to toe. And they put their doll on the bed after they made their bed up. And if the sun was coming in that direction right through and her curtains were open, that doll caught fire to the old bedding, and the bedding then went to the mattress, and you know, then the mattress went to the house, and yeah, it could cause a lot of damage, just that little bit. I was looking up celluloid just a few minutes before I came in here to make sure I was still telling you what I was telling you right. One of the things I also know about is, and this was a lady who sold jewelry, that she took old celluloid bracelets, and she said a lot of women complain about them when she sold them. They would come back and say they're just too hot on my wrists, and so she would have to coat them, because they did have a coating on them when they were made, but the coating wore off, of course, because they were worn, and especially if they were well loved and everything and worn a lot. Those bracelets worn out, the coating did, and so she would recoat them and then give them back to them, and they were fine. That's the thing with celluloid, it heats up. So just a little something to know. So to whoever, I don't know who it was on there that said, hey, put some pimple cream on them and wrap them up and put them in the sun. No, it can actually deform her teeth, and I'm out of luck when it comes to her teeth here. So you really got to be careful. One thing again about celluloid too is it will darken over time, just like a lot of the old vinyls did. I have a little Ricky doll from I Love Lucy, and he's darkened as well. Now, even still, it's not made of celluloid. I'm talking about old vinyls, and the old vinyls even darkened. So, and that's because of two things too. The gas furnaces back then put a yellow film in the air. Cigarettes put a film in the air. And vinyl is porous, and it absorbed, and it yellowed. And just like these teeth, over time they yellowed. Aging will also yellow stuff. We know even with clothing that will happen. It will yellow. So the thing is that these teeth have to, cannot be treated in that manner. Even last night I dunked them in some baking soda and hydroperoxide, and it did nothing to them. It's a material of its own, and once it yellows, it's yellowed. That's pretty much what I've been hearing, and over the years, once celluloid yellows, it's pretty much there. You've got to be careful what chemicals you're using on it too. Be very careful. That's all I want to say out there. And it's a touchier one. But just to let you know, it's not so straightforward like your vinyls where you get an ink mark and you're wrapping it up and with pimple cream and saran wrap and sticking a hair dryer on top of it, or putting it out in the sun, you know. No, different materials, okay? So we have to understand what we're working with here, and that's what we're working with here is celluloid. So I'm so glad whoever it was out there who brought this up, I'm so glad you did, because this is something that needed to be talked about, and needs to be brought up every so often to remind people what you're working with, understand the chemistry. You know, it's something when you're doing doll restorations, how on your dolls, like restoring your dolls and everything, how much chemistry you need to know, understanding what what chemicals you're using and whatnot. I'm even learning as I move along too. This did not come to me overnight. I'm telling you stuff I learned many moons ago, before I even knew Dodie's restoration. Dodie and I talked about this, and we delved into it. She wanted to write a book about some of this stuff. She never got to, but this is something that she wanted to do. But I put it out here on video for you so that you know and understand that. And we all learn together. And if I know something, I'll put it out there. And maybe there's people that can enhance more on it. They know more about celluloid as well. I don't know everything. I just know what I know. And I'm telling you what I do know here. But all the same, though, be careful with what you're working with. And not every chemical is going to work on whatever restoration you're doing on your doll. And I'm just glad that we were able to talk about this and get this out in the forefront. So, but anyways, though, have a great night, everybody. I'm going to clean up here and let these teeth dry. And tomorrow, I'm hoping to get these into Shirley's mouth, and then get her eyes. Her eyes are done and they're ready to go. I want to jump ahead and just do them, but I want you to see this. So I went and saw the Barbie movie tonight. I just loved it. We laughed in it. You know, I hope they don't make no more, because I think it would ruin what they have. I hope this is the only one that they make of that level. I thought it was very, very good. You know, would I want to see any more of that? Personally, no. Not because I didn't like it. I loved it. But I think it's perfect, just right where it is. What they made one, now walk away and leave it alone, you know, type of thing. Sometimes they make more and more on these things and sequels and all this stuff. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. But the story was told. I loved it. Rita Perlman was in this too. I won't say what part she played, but oh, Will Ferrell was good. Wonderful, wonderful movie. Anyways, there we go. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll be talking to you again soon. Bye-bye.